Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It all depends when you watch TBWL Uncensored Lifestyle and my other backup channel, my main channel, the Black Woman Lifestyle channel. And please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. I put this both in there because the fact that this is a Black woman, we all go to church, we all grew up in church, and we raise our families in church. So it's only fair that we get the full understanding what happened. Yes, it is celebrity news. Gospel singers, anybody in the entertainment world is a celebrity. Yes, even gospel singers are considered celebrities. Before we get started, let's listen and read copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for the fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, scholarships, and research. Keep going down. It was explained to educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of the fair use. Marvin Sapp is going to discuss what actually took place of the video that did not show everything and the misconcept of what was going on. Before we get started, when was the last time you breathe and take one now? So breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. I'm hoping you had a great morning, or great afternoon, or great evening. Unwinding. So let's begin. I'm going to do my commentary throughout the conversation they're having. And please bear with it. I'm trying not to be winded for it, but I'm trying to show facts. I already did screen share, but I will only do, you hear what they're saying. Let's begin.
Here's what's trending on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show, 25 minutes after the hour, y'all. Our next guest has been all over the internet lately, and he's here with us today to set the record straight. He's an award-winning singer, bishop, and pastor of the Chosen Vessel Church in Fort Worth, Texas. Joining us this morning is a friend of the show, Marvin Sapp. And good morning. Thank you for joining this morning.
Thank you.
And listen, let me say this. I'm not here to exploit the situation. You are my friend.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm a real friend. I'm a loyal friend. You understand? And I haven't even talked to you this week.
No,
because I know your phone was blowing up. But I had sense enough that everything that you sat here and said during the commercial break, I already knew. You don't have to explain that to me. I grew up in the church, and in your own way. Let's start with the attacks that are on you and the death threats on you and your family.
Well, let me just
whatever way you want to start.
Let me just start by saying first, Rickey, I thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, sir.
I thank you for the opportunity to be able to come on your show and for you to use your platform to give me a chance to just, add some context, some context and clarity to, a clip that, a whole lot of people have seen. Sadly, one of the things that has happened is, people have created a narrative that is absolutely not true. Number one, the narrative was created, that I raised money at my church, that I kept the people at my church hostage until I raised $40,000 for me. That's the narrative that has been shared, that I locked folks up in my church, that, I made them give $40,000 and I wouldn't allow them to leave until they gave it to me. And to be honest with you, that is absolutely false.
Yeah.
Number one, that offering was taken last year. This was a service that happened last August.
Now you listen, as he said, that happened last year. And you've been noticing on YouTube in 2025, people are doing slice and dicing in different videos that happened years ago, 10 years ago, last year ago. We had the turkey incident of Thanksgiving of 2024. Someone came in, how turkeys were affected and people stopped buying turkeys. And then they found out the article was done years ago. So people, new content creators coming on, they don't know what to do. So they're dicing and they're slicing and dicing different videos, different events on YouTube that actually shared, and then they get people all riled up. Let's keep going.
Number two, it didn't happen at my local church. It actually happened at a national organization's international meeting where churches from all over the country, all over the world came together for the purpose of celebrating the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. People took issue with me saying, shut the doors. Understand, I never said lock the doors.
Yeah.
I said, shut the doors. Shutting doors mean that people still have the ability to go in and out. They've taken issue with
Now, we have heard that done before. For example, my sister, when she was attending another church, their church doors were closed once church started. You couldn't get in the church. Reason why, because again, she was in Texas. We remembered when the young Caucasian young man went to a Bible study in a Black church. And while people were praying, he pow everybody. That registered in some people's churches. I know it's off topic, but I'm just explaining to you that some churches do have closed doors. And doing tithing as well. They do close the doors. Let's begin.
My tone. And I can honestly say, looking at the video, maybe I was a little more assertive than I should have been. And I can apologize for that. I can apologize for that. But three things I need to make sure that people understood. Number one, the $40,000, if it was $40,000 that was raised, was never given to me. That money was raised for the purpose of taking care of the budget for their conference, not Marvin Sapp. Number two.
Before we get started, a lot of people don't understand. Different gospel singers who also pastors, they go to different events, different conferences, and they probably the headliner. And most of us who are not part of a conference, some of us Black women went to women conferences, and we have seen people in different conferences do take offerings for the organization that conference is presenting. And sometimes we have to stand back and look at things a little differently.
Two, it didn't happen at my church. It happened in Baltimore. Number three, people take issue with me being firm with the ushers. Anybody that goes to church, ushers one-on-one, that's the first thing they teach you as being an usher, is that there are 3 times you don't walk. You don't walk during the altar call. You don't walk during prayer. You don't walk during the offering.
Now let's have fun with the ushers. We have seen military ushers in different churches. They don't play. You don't play with them, they'll play with you, okay? I think one of the things we did, I know one of the videos I did see somebody, commentary on, is that somebody heard from the ushers, and this is what the ushers said, but really what they did was went back and did the tape again, focusing on the usher, what the usher stated. You understand? So, again, he said he wasn't part of the church. He was a conference. And the ushers, as he stated, that's very true. The 3, if you do usher 101, they are trained to do certain things at a certain time.
Reasons being is because of the sacredness of the moment. But it's also about security. As a pastor, that churches are being robbed at gunpoint. It's happening all over the country. This is not something I'm making up. This is factual. So if you got 5,000 people in the room, you want the doors closed. You don't want the doors locked. I couldn't get them locked anyway. It's a convention center, but the doors needed to be closed. And there was a lot of pandemonium and stuff that was going on out there. But I wanted to share that first. But that ain't even the reason why I'm here. Here's the reason why I'm here. The reason why I'm here is because what has happened is people have taken clickbait and made something out of it that it isn't. And because of that, my church has been getting phone calls. People have called my church and cussed me out. My staff are afraid because I've received death threats over $20 and shut the door. People have come to our campus. They have come to my church to try to cause problems, issues, challenges. And again, my children, I don't look at comments. We was talking about this. You know, I don't read comments. When you got millions of followers, you ain't got time to be reading all the comments. You just don't have it.
Right.
Before we continue on with this, and you remember in New York, Bishop was robbed at gunpoint. And you remember that? That was 2 years ago. All right. And the people who call in his office, people who didn't hear, most of them don't even go to that church. And most of them are not even been to a church for a long time. This was a way for them to, people behind the cameras, people in front of their laptops can call, harass people all day long. So this clip that this person did, this content creator did, put out there, rile all these people up to do dumb stuff. If he had the money and had the damn time and get all these people who call and the FBI, the CIA get involved in this, a lot of people went to jail for it. But in this climate of where we're in now, we understand climate of clickbaits worse than before, because we have somebody in the highest office of the USA who was the king of clickbait, the king of posting stuff, that he had to create his own social media outcome. So this is how people get money, and through YouTube. So YouTube were making money. Whoever did the clickbait, they made mad money for this.
Children do, and they are afraid. And the reason being is because I'm their only parent. I'm a widower. You know, they're afraid for my safety. So now we've had to update and increase security and all the things I've never had to do before, because of the vitriol and the anger that people have shown, the things that they've said in my thread and stuff. And all of this is because of a misunderstanding. And I'm not blaming people. Let me be clear. I'm not blaming anybody because of their misunderstanding. I'm just saying, in all you're getting, get an understanding. And if I'm sharing with you that the $40,000 that I was trying to raise, and again, I don't know if the organization got 40, 10, 20, any of it. I don't know. I'm hoping that I actually raised more money so that I could.
That's not his job to see how much it was. I'm not sure he put it out there. I can't remember right now, top of my head. Did he say 40,000, or did the person who did the clickbait put 40,000 down? Either way, every convention, every event that you have in your own church have raised a certain amount of money, right? When you bring people into your church from other pastors come to your church, other speakers, other singers come into your church, costs money. And some churches, they have a wall. I know in church I have, we have a wall of donation. That we have a focus donation, a focus donation with, I'll say, let's see, competition, a special donation. All right, for something. Say that you're doing a donation for a hot water heater. You have their hot water heater donation, and you see a marker, someone marking it to the top so that we fully can pay for this water heater. Not go on a loan, not use, pay monthly payments, but get a full water heater out, fully paid off. That's what some people do in donations. I think that in this case here, and I do feel sorry for him, because we were doing clickbaits. And some of us was going back to their family, go back to how their church was running, how they grew up knowing the churches keep asking for a handout. Let's keep going.
And help the organization that has been such a great support to me. These people.
And again, let's be clear. Not a dime of that money.
Not a dime of that money came to me. Not a dime of it.
And where did your money come from?
I've been blessed.
Let's think about this. Was Rickey wrong asking Marvin Sapp where did his money come from? No, he's not wrong. Because know why? You want to know. A lot of you want to know where do TD Jakes money come from? Where did Joel Osteen money come from? Where did Marvin Sapp money come from? We know he's a singer. We know he do gospel singing. Kirk Franklin, where did money come from? You do ask these questions. I remember people asking questions about these famous preachers on TV, where the money come from, which most times you do see, but also you asking questions, how much money is he giving him? How much money are they giving to the church? Are they doing their 10%? So the question he asking, where your money come from, he's laughing because he knows the African American community, I'm going to say this, in America, have been asked about that questions way before I was born. And I know when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, that always been the question. And some of you, and depending on the church you go to, you have heard different things. And some pastors have told the truth about how they do the money of the church. But let's listen what Marvin Sapp had to say about where his money comes from and what he do with his money.
I've been extremely blessed. I've sold millions of records. Millions. I'm a songwriter.
How much have you gotten paid from? And we on radio live,
right?
How much have you gotten paid from your church? I'm just saying.
Okay, so
tell me
Rickey.
And yes, another question that you guys always ask: how much money do the church pay you? Let's hear what he had to say.
What you said during
I'm gonna
commercial.
Tell you, what people don't know is that I pastored 16 years in the city of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I founded my church. I pastored 16 years. We had a great church. Still have a great church there. 16 years of pastoring. I never got paid a dime. That's a fact. 16 years. You can call the church. You can ask them. I pastored the Lighthouse for Life Center Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan for free for 16 years. 9 years of those 16 years, I gave a minimum of $30,000 a month to my church. Wow. 30 grand a month to my church to ensure that the church could go forward. We had a lot of stuff. I had a college campus that we had bought. We had 3 other campuses, and my membership had dwindled after my wife had passed because I had to travel more in order to take care of me and my kids.
Right.
So, my membership, it dwindled, but we never lost anything. And as a matter of fact, this is factual. The day I announced the new pastor, I burned the mortgage of the church. When I left Grand Rapids, I left my church not only debt-free, but I left them with 6 figures in the bank and put a brand new pastor in and walked away and moved to Texas.
Now, let's go back a little bit what he said. He's a singer. He writes songs, and he do sing his own songs. He gave $30,000 a month out of his money that he gets from the industry. He worked the entertainment industry of the gospel singing group. There have been people, and you remember divorce court? Judge May Moline was the first Black woman judge before Judge the second judge came. And I never forget, she was there for, let me take a break and see if I find out what year she was actually there. Judge May Moline was on divorce court for 7 seasons from 1999 through 2006. They did not renew her contract, all right? And then we had Judge Tablard. All right. But anyway, Judge Maybelline, when she did not get her contract renewed based off the negotiations, there was an excerpt of her in her church home in Mississippi. And they called her up, her church, because they're doing their taxes. They're doing their, the end of the year tax things. And they asked her, how much did she get in tithing? They didn't have, the records are messed up a little bit. So she told them a certain amount of money. And then she calculated her top of her head as a give or take. She said, I made this kind of money that year. And then she calculated in her head the 10%, the total 10%. And she said, she gave them a 10% number of the whole year that she worked. And then when she came back home, she was probably $1-2 off. So she tithed every month her 10%. She tithed. And some of the people who you see, they do their things different. Like I said before, tithing and offering are two different things. Let me give you the definition of the Christian religion contents. Tithing refer to a specific portion, traditionally 10% or up to 10% of one income given to the church. Offering are volunteer contribution beyond the tithing, often given for specific needs or expression of generosity. We in the Black community, it depends how you grew up and what church you grew up back in the days before 2000s, some of you guys, and some of you guys after 2000s. Black churches use the word offering a lot in some Black churches, especially in small ones. The big churches, they use tithing and they use offering. So those two words have been mismatched and used sometimes in the same definition of tithing. So some people are offering was meant the same thing, your 10%. Same as tithing, 10%. It all depends on what church you go to. My pastor, I go to a Lutheran church at the time with my kids. Their pastor in the Lutheran church, they have a diocese, right? A Lutheran diocese. And they get paid through the church. For example, when we were looking for a pastor, we knew how much money that he would get. So again, the pastor, we gave him we had to give the Lutheran diocese a job description, what pastor we want in our church, and the amount of money that we can afford to give to the pastor. All right. And use the archdiocese, the Lutheran diocese, I can't say which one, they are the one who determine how much money that person would get. And we had to cover their insurance of their apartment or their house they're going to be moving into. We had to cover their life insurance policy. We had to cover for their car insurance. We had to cover the health insurance. Yeah, churches had to do those things to the new pastor coming in. Whereas Marvin Sapp stated the church didn't do it for him because he wasn't an artist. He was making his money stream one way. T.D. Jakes make his money through books, conferences he goes to outside of his church. He's a motivation speaker. Those ain't free. You had to pay the person to come on TV to talk. Everybody had to pay someone to come on TV to talk to you, to talk to the audience. He make movies. And believe me, some of that money is going back to the church. Joel Osteen, he has said it many times when he been interviewed, how you make your money? Books, motivated speaking, outside of his church. And then there was at the time they were dabbling in Christian movies making. Now, some of you have stated that somewhere some pastors were told, and usually a small church, not a big church, but a small church. Some of the pastors was told they get a percentage of the tithing. Maybe that's your church. I can't say it's right, it was wrong, because that's what your church decided to do. That's what the church decided to do. That means they get less money. There's another pastor years ago. His name was Pastor Price. He passed away a couple of years ago. He's from California. I watched him in the early 2000s. My friend been watching him since she was a kid. Now he's a little older, but he had a very strict church, And however, how he handled money, he said it in front of everybody. He would televise his show. His mega church would televise. And he was very strict where every money goes to that come into the church. Some of you us women, I ain't do this, but other women have done this. Other men, and there are also Black families have done this to pastors and their families. They have given them money to take their spouse out to eat. Yes, they have done that. Even when the pastor said, we don't need the money. Pastor Price, if I remember that's his name, a lot of people did to him. Have like, you and your wife had to go out to eat and have dinner. Even though he don't need the money, it's also rude not to get it, because that's what they want to do for the pastor. Is it right? Is it wrong? Tell that person they're wrong. The pastor duty is you were there for the right reason to be there to preach. You are there for the people, the community. You're there to enrich the community outside that church. But you be fair and honest. Most people, especially in Texas, because my parents were there and my sister there, and a lot of people do not live close to the church next to their house. That's what I noticed in Texas. A lot of people will leave 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours to go to church. And you know what it was? Because they don't want other people to know where they live at. They don't want people to know how they're living. Made no darn sense to me. And you got a good church home, and you feel it's a family-based church, and you feel positivity in that church, I don't understand why that you had to hide where you live at. No one should come to your house anyway, because you invite them to your home. But a lot of people have a different mindset. Would come down to what the pastor should be doing, how much the pastor should receive. And a good pastor would tell you how he's running the church financially. Let's continue on. Let's see. I'm doing the right thing. Sorry.
I'm not trying to take advantage of people. That's never been my passion. I'm serious about ministry. And let me go one step further. There's a whole lot of other pastors around here that are doing the same thing. Most pastors in America are bivocational, meaning they have jobs outside of their churches. The average church size in America is only 75 people. Look it up. It's fact.
I'm going to say this one too. It was interesting. T.D. Jakes in his church, his big church you see on TV all the time. And I think that Oprah asked him when Oprah did a special, sometimes she does specials, and she asked him about the income margin of the church. Everybody, how much people make and all that stuff. He said he had millionaires in his church. He had doctors, lawyers in the church. He had people from low income come to the church. So T.D. Jakes has stated before to Oprah that he had different income people, ranging from low income to millionaires in his church. My dad said something was interesting about people that make churches. And I was still young, not young, but their church grew up to be a mega church. My father, he was there when the church started in a rental. Let's say, a rental. I don't know, it's a rental thing, and they built it that way and started up. But anyway, my dad stated was a lot of people, especially in Texas, they go to a mega church. Why? Mega church offer more things and come down to opportunities. They offer more hope to the community, and people feel more safer in a mega church. Now, they can only give what he can give. And we have seen in in different churches, mostly in the black church, people all say the black church, of people tithing. Just go there, tithing. They want to know your pay stub, your W-2s, and this here. Well, guess what? The black church didn't start that shit. It came from the white church. And in the Catholic church, it's about money. I met people in my Lutheran church, and I met them, and I was shocked they were Catholic. I said, "Oh, you're Catholic? What you came here for?" And they grew up there. They had, when their kids were small, they raised their kids in a Catholic faith. However, they soon later, not right away, the kid got older. They transitioned from Catholic to Lutheran because the Catholic Church became money hungry, as this woman said, as this man said. They didn't play around in the Catholic Church. My husband, he was raised Catholic, and he said it. They had their heads set down. The Catholic people didn't complain about the finances because they knew that they give 10%. The Catholic Church is about politics. The Catholic Church is a big thing of family based. The man head of the household. The Catholic Church had never, ever covered that up. They never did. The Baptist Church, though, they complain about people getting 10%. They complain about, your name on the list. But other churches have done it. Even my pastor, he was saying in the Lutheran church, he had seen in church at the bulletin board your name and the amount you give per month. Your what do you call it? Where is it? It's your donation. Every Sunday, they put how much you gave to the church. And one church did that. Another church was you do a year, I'll say a year tithing. That means in November, December, they would ask you, what will you contribute in tithing for the year of next year? Say 2024. November, December, you got to put in what will you give per month or per year, the whole year for tithing. So January 1st comes in, the first Sunday in January, that's when you start. That would be your whole year thing. So you put down, I would give $150 every doing tithing per Sunday. So $150, all right, times 4, that's $600 a month. So you give the church $600 a month for your tithing. You could do a one big lump chunk, one check, and give them $600, or do 150, 150, 150, 150. That have been done in churches. And you have the right to know where is the money going to, because you're a member of the church. A lot of people become members of the church. You have a voice to vote what the church have to offer. It all depends how your church is built, how your church is, I want to say the word, how the church works. And the board, like Lutheran church, when the kids, Lutheran, you become a member, you have voting power. That means we have an opportunity, or we have a dilemma of, okay, we have to pay this bill, or do we want to upgrade our furnace? If we upgrade the furnace, here's how much it's going to cost us. Do we want to do a monthly plan, or do we want to pay a new furnace fully off, then get the furnace that way? Oh, yes. my church did that. We had to do that for our furnace. We had to update our furnace. And that was a question they gave us in front of our church. Do we want to pay the furnace, get a new furnace? They went and called different people in. They told us how the price range, which one we would go for. We picked that. That was actually a vote. And then we stated, do we want to do a monthly plan on the furnace, or do we want to pay it first, then get the new furnace? We did a monthly plan. All right. The Lutheran Church, when children are finished the confirmation, children, Lutheran, Baptist, and whoever else does it, do confirmation. Once the kids finish confirmation, they are now a member of the church. They have voting rights. They pay tithes. And children tithes are very simple. It's part 10% from their allowance. Let's continue on what he had to say.
Actual. So we're not getting rich off the church. I am bivocational. I'm a W-2 employee at my church. I have a syndicated radio show that I do every week to over 60 different markets. I own real estate. I have mutual funds. I have annuities. I have stocks. I play the market. I took my money and I didn't trick it.
Money that you made from
money that I made from music,
records.
from hit records. I'm one of the only gospel artists with billions of streams.
And you tour.
And I tour.
Let's go on that. T.D. Jakes, and you go back to his like 90 something. I met him in the 2000s, being fair. Watching him, he also had videos. When he do special events at his church, he record everything. Everything recorded in T.D. Jakes' mega church, okay? I didn't know it was a mega church, it was a church. But anyway, T.D. Jakes did a thing on prosperity. His church did a spiritual financial education. That means the whole church with him, if you want to be involved, you're involved. But in that church, he brought in good people about finances, how to understand your credit, how to increase your credit, how to make different movements in the stock market and all that. He did that. It was actually you go on his website and you see his, all his videos and all that. Go back. I think it was in early 2000s that he did it. Let me hold for here. Somebody will call me. We need to understand in the 80s, the black people didn't start it. The white Caucasian people did. 1980, you remember the 80s, you had a whole bunch of people, Caucasian religious people, who had prosperity, who had went to jail over money in church. The Bakers, remember her, Pam Baker with the eyelashes and all that stuff? They did that. Now, you came from the black church before the 80s. You had way back then, what was the black church like? Give your money away. It wasn't fair for you to make this money and you keep it to yourself. You want to help the community, help your family. And anybody tell you differently, that's a lie. They did do that. I remember well that they were saying to donate your money, to give the money to other people. It was also in the Catholic Church did the same thing. Was also in the Baptist Church were doing the same thing. It was in the late 80s. Well, it went wild then. Late 80s were telling people how to keep your money. It's okay to make your money grow. It's okay to do that. It's okay for bringing money to you. Joyce Meyer, Joyce on The View. She told that to her name is. She told that to Sherry Shepherd. She said, really? Because Sherry Shepherd came in later on. Sherry Shepherd grew up differently, and they were told differently. Whereas Joy told, back then when she grew up, you supposed to give away your money. You didn't supposed to prosper. You're supposed to help your fellow man. You would help with the church with the money. So that's why a lot of people came from that different background of understanding the church. Because you grew up, let me make it clear. Your parents had you, I don't care, adoption, naturally. You came from a 2-parent home, you came from a 1-parent home, your auntie, your grandmother, whoever raised you, they took you to church. Their job, when you under the age of 18, especially you're young, they supposed to raise you in a way, spiritually, so that you can be raised in the right way raising. All right. I get the word they use. The Jewish people use the same terminology when they do the bar mitzvah, and they are told that we, the people in the church, have to help raise this young man, this young girl in a way to understand their faith. When you turn 18 and on, you are a darn adult. When you go out to college, how many of you went to church every Sunday on a regular basis the next 4 years? How many of you went to start? You did go to church. You got programmed to go to church on Sunday, then slowly slip away, not going. How many of you went to church, but you went to a different denomination because you want to be in church all day, so you decide to go Catholic. You decide to go Methodist. You decide to go Lutheran. You decide to go to a non-denomination church. That's 1 hour only. You have the right as an adult to figure another way of your spiritual growth. And some of us, I'm gonna keep them talk, because he said something so powerful in this conversation. So let's keep going on and listen to some more stuff.
I just came off of a tour,
sure,
that I made tons of money on, and I'm at the crib right now chilling because I don't have to go on tour. I can wait and do my next date. I came
basically you saying all that to say you don't need no $40,000.
I don't.
Got it.
And I would take it if they gonna give it to me, but right. I did not raise this money for the premise and purpose.
And that was a program that helped you get to where you are.
They gave me a platform. This organization is an organization I grew up in. It's a church organization I grew up in, and I'm appreciative. The reason why I'm gonna bring up the organization, because it ain't none of y'all business. But the point is these people gave me a platform, man.
And you want to know what the organization is? Go and find that TikToker. Go and find that person who took that slice and dice episode of that conference and ask them what the organization name is.
And the reason why I'm known today is because of the opportunities that this organization gave me. So for me to go back and be able to preach and raise finances.
And you're right. Some churches, especially mega churches, gave people opportunities. There's a person on YouTube. She's a content creator for years. She also been an advocate. She also been an activist, a true Black woman activist. And she has said this a million times. I know we have said this in church too. There are people in your church who are bankers, who are tellers, doctors, lawyers. There are people in your church who work in the credit repair industry. There are people in your church who are gardeners, real gardeners. There are people in your church who are real accountants, who do taxes. There are people in your church who are different people in different industries in your church. And one thing the woman said was, in the Black church, how many people in that church use their education, use their job to help the people in that church? Now, this is one of the comments I heard. I'm not working today. Okay, that's fair. What I'm getting out of it, that's fair too. Because people are tired. They want to go to church every Sunday, enjoy to hear the preacher preach. Enjoy to see the spiritual dancers. Enjoy to have the fellowship of the dinner at the church. However, the Black church, the congregation, could see opportunities for other people. But again, people are people. You can't say your name to everybody. You can't give your, references to everybody, because not everybody are good workers. All right. However, you hold the key to information that people are not getting through the Caucasian man or woman. You do keynotes. In my church, in Lutheran church, there's a guy who goes, he works for a nonprofit organization that help people to correct the credit. All right. There are no shortcuts to it. He said there are no shortcuts to help people to correct the credit at all. But he will show you step by step. Once it pulls your credit report, once it all these your bills, all here, he sit down with you and they tackle the bills. Within some people is 2 to 3 years, some people is 1 year, and they get a perfect near 800 score on the credit because they're using techniques to get them understanding that. What he does in his organization is that once a year, everybody who works in that organization, they must do a class to for another nonprofit organization to educate people, So he always used the church. Now I remember him before, way back when, but he never really advertised. But anyway, so he used to go to different churches. So he used to go to different Lutheran churches to do it. So he did it. I took the class. It was free because I was a member of the church. The church would pay per head. So he gave us a discount. I think it was $20 what it was. So the church paid for the members in the church to go to the class, and then outside of the church, they had to pay like $30, like extra $10 more. So he had some people in the class, and most of the people in class was from church. Okay. So anyway, he was explaining the thing about financials and this here and all that stuff. It was good. It was like 8-hour class. And we had snacks. So we bought snacks. And it was a very interesting class. And he is saying some things that we already knew, but some things, what was going on in the government, was going on with the different tax, what was going on with the credit bureaus and all that stuff. So he would give the insights, all that stuff in. So imagine you have somebody who has an opportunity to educate you in your church. How many people we got good credit? There have been churches, I have seen this on YouTube. One church, they clear everybody health care. They pay everybody. The church did, I think a year. They did a year. They pay everybody medical bill. Another church paid for people, the students in their church, their student loans. Another church did pay everybody house off. If I remember correctly, if you go and find it, I'm not sure which one was that. But I think one church, they helped everybody to pay their house off in one church. So there are people who did those things. There are churches help people to go back to school, and they actually paid it. Some of us, let me keep going, because he said something, so also another powerful thing. Let's get going.
And give back to them so that they don't have to go in debt. Listen, one of the most devastating things about this whole situation and circumstance is that I'm literally praying for all of those who have actually spread it. Like if I was a weak guy, if I was a very weak person with all of the things that people have said in my comments and stuff like that, that my members of my church have read, that my children have read, people commit suicide on stuff like this.
Sure.
From this type of attack. And I know for a fact that there are some individuals that really don't have a clear understanding of the systems of the church. But then I know that there are some individuals that are.
You already said the systems of the church. Every business have a system. Yes, church is a business. You have to pay the light bill. You have to pay property tax. You have to pay the building, the rental, the church rented. Don't forget, some people start out, when people start their church out, they usually be a rental property. They start the church out with under rental property. If you go and see some people churches as in malls, And that's still rental. The system of the church is how the church is function.
Listening, even as I speak, that have been church hurt, and that's the reason.
Church hurt. I said this earlier in my last video, in this video, and I said again in this video. When you have children, a lot of parents put the church in church. Your parents were responsible what church and what denomination they raised you in. You might not have been lucky or blessed, how you want to see it, that your parents didn't take everything what the pastor said 1,000% literally based. You might have that kind of parent. You might have a parent who actually took the pastor everywhere he said was true. Okay? You might came from a very strict Christian household. Catholic, Baptist, Southern Baptist, Second Baptist, wherever heck Baptist it is, Methodist, wherever it is. You might came from that. You may came from the fire of hell preaching. And I had a pastor, Second Baptist Church in New Jersey. He grew up in that kind of church. Every Sunday was terrifying. He had a calling to become a pastor. Everybody in church knew he had a calling. He did everything he could not to become a pastor. He picked he majored, he went to college. He made sure he lived nowhere near a church, nowhere near anything to do with church. He majored in business, and senior year, he hear a bell. It was a different type of bell too. It was a different bell. He picked that church. His mom asked him, "Why you pick that church for?" And he said, "I feel it's good for me to be there. It's just a calling for me to be there." So he got away not going to church. He didn't go to church. Nana. On time he went to church, he would go back home and visit his parents during Christmas, and then what he can do summer breaks. That's it. His mom didn't say anything. She just smiled at him. Why did he found in his senior year, his last semester? Mind you, he'd been walking around the church, around the school, outside of school. He'd been walking, running, all that stuff. He didn't in sports and all that. Why did last semester in his senior year, the same place he keep running to, the place he do his jogs and all that stuff here, there was a Bible college there. The bell that rings on a regular basis, he could say talk to with a Bible college. After he graduated from that school, from business, he went to the Bible college, became a pastor. We all saw laughing at him in church. We were busting out laughing. He would get you one way or another. His mom knew through the Bible college. And so when mother asked him why he picked that school, he said I had a calling. He had a good feeling. His mom just smiled. His mother never told him there was a Bible college. And when he called his mom, when he passed it, his last semester of his senior year, he called Mom, you know the Bible college behind my school? She said, yes, I knew. So, and you probably remember this. And she said, I asked you why you picked that school. And you said to me, you had a calling and you felt it. And God had his own plan to get you where you need to be at. So that was that. Let's go.
And why they have a certain level of vitriol and bitterness as it pertains to the church. This particular situation for me is a church hurting situation.
You have to go deeper with church hurting. Some of us who grew up, and I can't say some of us, I'll say some of you who listening had grew up. It is documented and proven. Middle school and high school is when us teenagers start looking at the people in the church differently. K through 5th or 6th grade, one of the Ks, you're going to listen to Bible studies. You're going to listen to stories, Bible stories, right? When you get to middle school and high school, now you're a preteen and teenager. Now you are trying to walk the lifestyle of a Christian, but you seeing all the bad people doing, and God is blessing them with everything you can. Why God blessing them? They doing this. I'm doing right by. I'm trying to live right, but I'm not getting nothing done. So this is a word called church hurt. Some of you have seen your mama and your daddy in their church they were in, and you saw a lot of negative things. And some of you have seen your mom, even though wrong is wrong, she's still being a Christian woman and still go to that church every Sunday. You see the pastor ain't living right. Now you're a teenager now, right? You watching him, and you watch him but not watching him. But you start seeing things. You see his kids are bad as hell, right? But then you see things in church you don't understand because you're a teenager. But you do look at things differently. And that's when you don't believe in, they're like, I don't trust you. I don't trust. I know I did. I'm just being honest. I know I did. I believe there is a God. I believe there is Jesus. I believe there is my spiritual self. I didn't trust people. And I remember saying that in middle school and high school. I don't trust people. And also, don't forget, I came from the 70s and 80s. We had all the different crazy movies came out. The Old Men, all those things. So it make you question everything. It make you question everything. We had, what is it called? Different spiritual movies came out, mostly Caucasian movies, that show you one way, and then in the middle of the movie, there was another kind of way that was going on. We had different cults coming in, and some of you guys are looking at your childhood, and you had no say-so whatsoever in church. You don't have no say-so under 18 of age. Your mom and dad say you're going to church. But you turn 18 and higher. They're the reason why you don't have to go to church. And some people, parents say, you don't get in my house, you're going to church. And that's why you can move out. But some of you guys didn't move out of your parents' household. Some people, parents, I say you were blessed or you were you lucked out. Because your parents believe you turn 18, you make the choice on yourself, you want to go to church or not. All right? And some of us have to be honest that most of our parents was bitch warmers. What I mean by bitch warmers is I've been talking about back in the 2000s, okay? If you didn't go to your church and then you didn't attend and your church did not have an education about how churches are run, again, he said, Marvin Sapp, church are systems in place, and you didn't have that kind of conversation in your Sunday school, in your Bible study class, which is actually in the Bible as well, but you didn't have a conversation, a big, the pastor and his deacons, some other people came and they talked about the church function of the church, within the church, a different organization, the pastor, the deacons, the ushers, all those things in detail format, then I can help you there. But here it goes. Some of you parents have been bench warmers that come on church. That means church is part of a system that your family set up. Monday through Friday, you went to school. Your mom and dad went to work. Mom might stay home. She'll stay home wife. Or your mom and dad work from home. Saturday comes. You do family things. You're clean. Usually Saturday, sometimes it's cleaning days, right? You clean up and then you do family time. Sunday morning, you eat breakfast and you go to church on Sunday mid-morning or afternoon. Then you come back around, eat dinner, blah, blah, blah. Sunday was a part of a system that your parents created for them, for the household, and you fell through it. You came along with it. And nothing wrong with that. Well, my friend, when she, got out of the military and, she hasn't still in the military, she now have time to participate in the church. And when she participated in the church, she became a Sunday school teacher with the older kids. And that means now she's in the system. She starts seeing things differently when she was in the system. Now she sees the functioning of the pastor, what he's doing in the church. He's seeing the other deacons, what they're doing in the church. She's seeing the people behind the trustees, what they do in the church. Now it's not that pretty now. The church that she participated in, now she sees the business side of the house. It's not always glamorous. It's not pretty. There are arguments going on behind the scenes that no one has seen there ever will see ever again. You see the accountants arguing with this ministries. The ministries want a certain amount of money so they can do these things for the adults education, for the children youth ministry, to do an outing this here and this here. You see all that. You see the church finances. And you ain't part of this system. You hear it, you don't hear it, but you actually now part of the board. Now you see how much debt the church is in, how much they gave out. Then, if you could depend on the church you go to, only the accountant and the pastor know how much, or did they give loan money out to the congregation who need to pay their bills. Now you'll be on that. That's a different task. That's another not ministry, is another business side of the house of the church. A lot of black churches were closing up. Up here where I was at, there are whole black churches and white churches were closing down left and right because they could no longer pay their bills. They have more bills out because it helped people with their light bill, help people with their rent, their mortgage, help people with a car note. Oh yes, they did. Because there was nothing, because the church was give, but no one giving to them. There's more output going on in the church than input going on in the church. So my question right now to you guys, are you church hurt? And some churches, true story, it's not a lie, and you was not paying your tithing, the pastor could not bury you. Sick as hell, I think, but that's what it is. And you did not pay your tithing, the pastor would not bury you. You go somewhere, you have to find another place to get buried. You have to find someone else to do it for you, not the church you go to every day. There was a pastor who said, it's a true story, and it was a pastor who said this person had a big car. A Cadillac, one of the SUVs, one of the big ones. Okay, Navigator. That's it. A Navigator. Had a Navigator. Living in apartments, not a good apartment area. Living in apartments. That person died. Did not have 1 cent to bury him. Didn't have not 1 cent to bury himself. But going his family stated when they went to his house, he had top name. This person had name brand clothes, name brand, but no life insurance policy to bury him. His family had to go in there and sell majority of his stuff. And they got, the family came together and put money together to bury this person. Sold his truck to go bury him. Because some people just want to live day by day. We need to, and I'm being honest, there's some people here who watching, listening to this. You need to forgive your family members, whoever put you in church, who put you in a toxic defunction or dysfunction, how you want to pronounce it, church home. Forgive your family because they believe that this was the way to go. And some of them got passed down. Same as people who's Catholic. There are people who grew up in a Catholic church because their great-great-grandparents did it. All their generation, Catholic church. But they had no feeling in that church. They don't give them goosebumps. They don't feel nothing in that church. They used to say Catholic because that was told to them. But when they went to someone else's church, their friend church, they went to someone else's fellowship, they had the feeling. But they're obligated to stay at a certain church. I met a woman, she's African American, and her kids know it. Her kids didn't stay in one church. She was raised Catholic. No, sorry, she was raised Baptist. When she had her kids, they say, she went to Baptist church. Then when she got divorced, they went to Baptist church. Then went to Catholic church. She stayed Catholic for 10 years in Catholic church. Then she went to this church, that church. Her kids don't know they only know that they believe in God and Jesus. That's it. But one thing her kids did say, thank you, Mom, for not keeping us in one church. Because it was easy for them to walk away from a man who tried to play dumb who tried to make them feel dumb in church. Because different faith teach different ways of the Bible. Let's keep going on.
Because I did something for the church, but I'm taking abuse because of it. I just want people to really understand that this is something that we shouldn't do. Make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you check out everything first. Make sure that you examine the information with clarity and context before you begin to share it. Honestly, let me be right with Rick. Some of this stuff is funny. They got this one meme that I was laughing this morning looking at with the Teddy Pendergrass fur coat on, and it got at the bottom of my face and say, close the door. It's hilarious. And because I have a sense of humor, I can laugh at that kind of stuff. Everybody ain't able to handle that. And you all have to really, really be cognizant of it. You got to think about before you repost, before you slander, before you go in people's comments and say vile and this vitriol stuff. Make sure you know for a fact. All right, y'all, ladies and
okay, so let's go there and just as us right now before we get started. Let's breathe again. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. It's a lot to take in. And one thing I can say in 2025, as Black women of 92%, and we cannot forget our Black men of 77, X-Men 8%, depends on what you get the polls from, because those Black men, you are your sons you're raising. Those Black men, maybe your husbands that you have right now by your side. Those Black men could be your father. Because even though my parents both passed away, I know my dad will be 80%. Because my dad, when he first voted in his life, Shirley Chisholm was on the damn ballot. And my dad voted for her. She had what it took to run for office. And she fought heavy because they tried to put her in the vice president bracket. But anyway, let us take time to really look at different information coming in on YouTube, and TikTok, and other social media format. Let us do that. And just understand that as Black women, we are the most intelligent. We do have the degrees. And yes, if you go and look around and look hard before DEI was even a word for most of us, being fair and honest, they were already not trying to hire us. But we still made a way. We still made a way to work. We still made a way to open our own businesses. We still made a way to get ahead, to be above water, to do better than just being fine. So let's take this opportunity of 2025. After the first quarter, we in. Put your hands. Let us don't be too quick of judging somebody from YouTube, for any social media, or even in our own workspace, in our own families, and our neighbors. Have a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Please continue watching my two platforms, the Black Woman Lifestyle channel. I'm starting to put more stuff onto that channel, and to the TBWL Uncensored Lifestyle channel. Like, share, subscribe, and comment, please. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.